Welcome. You're listening to the I'm Wired to Inspire podcast, creatively engineered by Nicole, the inspiration specialist. I'm Wired to Inspire is a powerfully packed podcast filled with inspiration and encouragement to get you through your day. It's designed to inspire you to live your authentic purpose. Now, stay tuned for your host, Nicole, the inspiration specialist, on today's episode of I'm Wired to Inspire.
Hey everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today on my podcast. I'm Nicole, the inspiration specialist, and I'm wired to inspire you to live your authentic purpose. So y'all, today's topic that I want to talk to you guys about is something I happened upon in conversation with my cousin Marlon last week. And we were just talking about the different things that you have to do sometimes when you are on your way to, your dreams coming true, working different jobs, doing something, expecting a certain outcome, you get a completely different response. Just really talking about how things can really differ from what you thought God told you to do. Y'all know how it is. And this is specifically for people who feel like even though you're doing what God has told you to do, you feel like you have bouts of, I have to hustle to do this. I have to try to make ends meet type of deal. Because, when you meet people that are not believers, that are multimillionaires, y'all, they don't have, a lot of them, they don't have a belief system other than if you do the work, you get it done. And that's why I did those series in the past about working and praying, because I think sometimes it's a handicap with us as Christians when we just put so much on, God's going to do it, God's going to do it. But if you don't do any work to get it done, it's not going to happen. And I'm actually going to do a podcast on that this week, and it's called Handicapped. So make sure you check that out. It'll be near the end of the week. So I don't want you to miss that. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that aspect. But like I was saying, it's very important that you all pay attention to the fact that, when God was handing out purpose and promise to us, he already had it mapped out how he wanted that thing to go for us from the beginning. And even though he knew and we didn't, all he wanted us to know was that he had our backs and he would not make us do something that would lead us astray or, put us in a place of feeling like we're lost and confused. And although we still end up in those places sometimes because of our impatience and frustration, and y'all, sometimes just lack of wisdom and understanding, we don't know what it is that God has for us. So while we were musing on this, he said something that just made me stop in my tracks. And he was just talking about how, when you do those little odd jobs and when you keep working on something and it seems like you will never get the blessing. It seems like, yes, Lord, I'm praying. Yes, Lord, I'm working, but I still don't see an outcome. I still didn't get a check cut. So if you're a believer and you get to that space, then you start to doubt God and even question him at times because you're saying, I'm doing everything you're telling me to do. I'm praying, I'm working, I'm not lazy. I'm handling my business. I'm doing all the things you're telling me to do. And no, it's still not happening for me. Well, what he said was, he said a lot of times when you get in that space, and for me, I'm thinking about the times when I lack faith in particular, but he described that space as a hustler's purgatory. And if you're familiar with purgatory at all, I'm going to just give you the one word shortened version of it, but you can totally Google it and you can get more information on it. I don't want to get super deep. I just want to make a quick point. But it's like basically being in limbo, a hustler's limbo, where you're doing a million things are in your brain. You're trying to figure out a million things to do, but you're literally in a purgatory because you're stuck between the heaven and the hell of your blessing. Think about that. If you stuck between the heaven and the hell of your blessing and you doing all the work, then you're going to feel like you're in a hustler's purgatory because you keep hustling to do the things that you feel God is telling you to do when you're really missing the whole point, which is if God gave it to you to do, you don't have to hustle to get there. And sometimes, y'all, we start hustling and feeling desperate because things are not going the way we thought they would go. We create hustles. We devise plans. I'm not saying sometimes these things are not strategically a part of God's plan, But you and I both know, and I'm going to say this, I'm going to speak for myself, but I'm sure many of you know with me as well, that when you feel like, yo, that rent due, this here paid, this not paid, things got to happen, you start hustling. You start trying to make $1 out of 15 cents. You heard me? You trying to do everything you can. And then you find yourself in that hustler's purgatory. So for any of you listening to me right now, who's stuck in between the heaven and the hell of your blessing, I want you to remember something. If you heard God clearly on what to do, don't deviate from what he told you because it's taking too long for you to see the end result. Some of you have taken up odd jobs, doing little things, connecting with the wrong people, thinking that it's a come up because you're trying to add to what you're doing. You want to add more people to your tribe. You want to start more businesses. You want to listen, sometimes you can do all of that. And I'm telling y'all again, and I say it all the time, and y'all got a t-shirt, a shameless plug. I got a t-shirt coming out about the God moves, the good looks, the God moves are greater than the good looks. Y'all, a lot of times we take these good looks and we just take them too far. We just take them way too far. We end up getting entangled in things that God did not want us to do because it sounds great in theory, but it's really not what he wants us to do. It's nice to be nice, but if it's not in God's will for you to perform that act, then you don't want to do it. He will provide someone else who will successfully do that, and the blood won't be on your hands if you didn't do it because it wasn't yours to do to begin with. So, as I roll out, I want y'all to think, if you're listening, think today, are you doing anything outside of the will of God because you're too impatient, waiting on the checks and waiting on the money and trying to see the blessing coming? And y'all, it might not even be money, but some of y'all might just be hustling in your relationship. Lord have mercy. I got another one. One day I'm going to do it. I don't know if I'm going to do it this week, but it's called Hustle Prayers. Y'all, sometimes we hustling in our prayers when really we have to go boldly before the throne of grace. We don't need to beg God. He said, come boldly, don't beg. Okay? So, kind of went off on a tangent, but I felt like I had to say that. So yes, if you find yourself right now in a hustler's purgatory, take a moment and ask yourself, what is it that I need to do to make sure I get out of this place and I can get to the heaven of my blessing? Because God has it for you. Trust me, he does. I'm wired to inspire. I hope you are too.
Thanks for listening to I'm Wired to Inspire podcast at I'mWiredToInspire.com. If you enjoyed the show, spread the word and be sure to hit the 5-star rating on iTunes. For more information on this podcast and inspirational products and services, log on to I'mWiredToInspire.com. And remember to live your authentic purpose. Thanks again and see you next time.